Welcome back to Limitless and Unfiltered. This is Maria, and you are going to hang out with me today. We are here in another solo episode. Jenny is busy doing things that we will talk about after, but for now, we're going to leave it at that. I'm super excited for her, but today you get to hang out with me, and today I want to talk about something that's been ruminating in my mind because I think a lot of us struggle with this. I know I definitely have, even in like early stages of my life, my teens, my 20s, and now into my late 30s. Can't believe I'm saying that. But my late 30s, and that is what health actually really means. I know it's a term that a lot of people coin around, right? I want to work on my health. I want to work on this, but what does it actually truly mean? Because let's be honest, guys, when you hear the word health, like what is the first thing that you think about? Be honest with yourself right now, because I know that for me, it was definitely weight. So is it your weight? Is it the gym? Is it that pair of jeans that, used to fit you, but now it doesn't and you're trying to get back into them? Or maybe it's that like green smoothie that you forced yourself to drink last week and you're like, yeah, that's what my health focus is, getting more greens in. Because here's the thing, we've been sold that this idea that health is a before and after picture, and that if we just eat right and lose a few pounds and start working out, then we're going to be healthy. I've fallen into that trap. I was definitely somebody who thought that way. Like, I just have to eat healthy and work out more. And then that is the image of health, and that's going to make me healthy. But here's the thing, health is so much bigger than calories, carbs, and cardio. I'm going to repeat that. Your health is so much bigger than the things that you're putting inside of your mouth or the calorie counting that you are doing. Health is also what you think about when you wake up every single morning. It's how you speak to yourself when you make a mistake. This goes for, parents and non-parents. How are you talking to yourself when you make a mistake? It shows you, it's the shows you binge when you're tired. It's the music that you put on repeat every single day or when you're in moods. It's the people that you text when you're hurting. All of that is the bigger picture of health. And if we're being really honest, a lot of us are walking around thinking that we're fine while quietly running on empty on every area of our life. And we haven't really come to that realization. So today I'm going to try and change that for you. We're going to go deep just like we usually do. So buckle up, because this might sting a little in some areas, but it's exactly what you need to hear, because it's exactly what I needed to hear prior to me making changes in my life that helped me set the stage for the journey that I've been taking, the evolution of what I've encountered. And so I want to make this very clear. This conversation is not about quick fixes. It's not about any fad diets. If you know me at all, you know that I am not a participant of the diet culture. I think it is so damaging, specifically for women, but it can be for men too. I'm just not a fan of that. It's also not about doing better so that you can check the box and just say, okay, yep, that is part of being healthy. Okay, we're going to look at health today as a whole. I want you to look at health as physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, and how every single thing that we consume plays a role in how we feel, how we think, and how we show up for our lives. Because if we want to thrive every single day and not just survive in this world, then we have to start asking better questions, okay? So what are these better questions? Okay, it can be something like, what am I really feeding my body, my mind, and my soul every day? Because they're all interconnected. It's also questioning, like, who am I surrounding myself with? We have said this on this podcast many, many times. It is so important to audit your circle. We'll get to that in a second, okay? Another question that you can ask yourself is, what kind of energy am I letting in? That's a big one. Another one that you can ask yourself is, what am I choosing to ignore or numb instead of facing? You may have heard this as like doing the shadow work, and a lot of people don't really want to do the shadow work. Maybe you don't know what that is, but essentially it's working on the inside first and going in and realizing, like, what is it that I'm actually avoiding, and then learning to face that. That's the shadow work, okay? So what are you choosing to ignore or numb out? Today isn't going to be about judgment, my friends. I really want to make that very clear, but I want you to be aware. So it's about awareness, because you can't change what you refuse to see. That's huge. So I've just written down a couple of like points here on the side to talk about. This is going to be off the cuff. And I've made points because I feel like there's different sections of our life where we have neglected health or maybe not realized that it is part of health in general. Again, like at the beginning of this episode when I was talking, when you hear the term like what does health mean to you, a lot of people go to the physical immediately. A lot of people start to think of like, okay, well, health looks like a certain person that I have in my mind. Okay, so a certain physique. But in reality, there's so many sections of our lives that we are maybe neglecting because we don't put them under the category of health, or maybe we are aware that they are part of our overall health, but we neglect that area because one, it may be uncomfortable, or two, we're just refusing to work on that. So I want to challenge you today. So the first point, what do I have here as my first point? Okay, so my first point or my first section that I want to talk about is your physical health. This is the very obvious one. This is the most visible, okay, but it's not part of the whole, I mean, it's part of the whole picture, but it's not the whole picture of what health is. So we're going to start with physical because it's the one essentially that gets all of the attention. It's the one that you quickly go to, right? Think about health. People really just go to like the physical health. What am I looking like? And by the way, physical health definitely matters. I'm not saying that it doesn't. And it's not toxic to care about how you look and feel in your body. I think there's a part of social media that's like, you know, some people are saying like, oh, the physical doesn't matter. And like, you know, you love yourself just the way that you are. But the physical, like caring about that isn't toxic. Okay. Caring about what is reflected to you in your mirror, that's not toxic. You should care about how you look and feel in your body because essentially, if you don't like what you are seeing, the chances are you're not going to feel good about yourself in the reflection that you're seeing. So to say and trying to dismiss that we shouldn't care about what our physique looked like, and like that's technically along the same lines as like if you look at yourself in the mirror and you don't like it, well, learn to just like it. Well, no. If you don't like what you're seeing in the mirror, if you truly don't like what you're seeing in the mirror, you know that there are things that you can change in your lifestyle in order to be able to love what you are seeing in the mirror. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense, right? Here's the thing. Moving your body matters. This is part of those changes that you can do in your life, right? Moving your body matters. Feeding it real food matters. We are in a society where instant things are just so easily accessible at our fingertips. Think of like Uber Eats and like all these things, and not bashing them, but also realizing that like the instant gratification essentially of grabbing things that are easier and more convenient instead of like taking the time to cook and making sure that what you're eating is real food and not processed shit. Like that is just, that's the easy part of life. It's not necessarily something that's going to help you in terms of that physical health, okay? Drinking water matters. Guys, we are like what, 70-80% water? Like it just makes sense to drink your water, drink water. And coffee, copious amounts of coffee like I used to drink, 6 to 8 cups of coffee a day, that is not drinking water, okay? I'm a huge advocate for drinking greens. I drink them every single day. I have a concoction that I make myself every single day. That does not count towards water. Your water intake is important and it should be just water because your body thrives off of that and it helps your cellular function. So drinking your water matters, and something that I'm definitely not 100% good at, but matters as well, is your sleep. What is your sleep hygiene like? Like, are you struggling to fall asleep, or are you like head on pillow, passed out immediately, which by the way is also a sign that your body is on overdrive, and yeah, not a good thing. Look into that. But sleep matters. Now, sleep is different for everyone. I have said this before. Some people will need 6 to 8 hours of sleep or 9 hours of sleep. Some people can thrive off of 5 to 6 hours of sleep. Like it really depends on your system. And in reality, it really is different for everyone. Look into, and the only way that you can look into truly is just to like see what works for you. If you wake up the next day after a 6 hour sleep and you feel like death, then my friend, you probably need more sleep. Okay? It's just a matter of figuring out what that magic number is for you, but sleep hygiene is so important. But here's the catch. You can have a perfectly sculpted body and still be deeply unhealthy. Okay? Like, I don't know how many people need to hear this, but you can have a sculpted, beautiful, perfect body and still be unhealthy. And the same is true for the reverse. We are in a day and age right now where being overweight is glorified. Again, this is going to sting for some people, okay? This is going to sting, but I want you to be your best, most highest self. And this podcast is unfiltered and limitless because I want you to be that too. And it goes both ways. Just because someone has a perfect physique does not mean that they are perfectly healthy. They could be deeply unhealthy. The same is true for people who are overweight. If you are overweight and you are excusing yourself saying that you are healthy and that your size does not matter, scientifically, your organs are working much harder. Okay, so it goes both ways here. Think about this, okay? Have you ever been in a season where you looked great on the outside, but you were exhausted, stressed, barely holding it together on the inside? Okay. I'm sure we've all been there. We've all been at a lower weight, let's put it on a scale, let's say, or looking better physically, but on the inside, we were actually pretty much deteriorated. Okay. That's not health. That's survival mode in disguise because physical health is about listening to your body. It's asking your body, like, am I moving because I love my body or am I moving because I'm punishing it? And that, my friends, is massive. Sorry, my nose is so itchy right now. Okay, that's massive, okay? I used to move my body all the time because I've loved working out for decades, okay? I used to move my body as a form of punishment. All through my teens, all through my 20s. Exercise to me was always a direct relation to what I ate the day before or what I ate the morning of. And that is not the way to approach your physical health because that is not the place that's going to continue to move it forward. It's not. So get out of that mindset. Stop punishing your body and start trying to look at physical movement as a way to love your body. Now, the other thing you should ask yourself in this whole physical sector, it just came to my mind, is like, am I fueling my body with the things that give me energy or am I just doing quick fixes that leave me crashing later? These all go back to the fad diets, which I'm not a fan of at all. I think they are useless and actually more damaging than anything at all. I actually don't see any positive to it, but it's still a thing in 2025. I think here's the thing that most of us forget. Resting, and hand up to me, resting is part of health. Because my friends, your body heals and repairs while you sleep and while you rest. Your hormones reset. Your brain detoxes. Your kidney, your liver. Okay? All of your organs that are meant to help your body flush out toxins from your system, they work when you are at rest. They work their best when you are at rest. So I need you to stop glorifying burnout and ignoring your body's whispers until it has, time to scream. Because it's like, okay, can you relax? Can you stop? Because let me tell you, your body will scream at you. Okay. How? So how people are like, they always ask me this, Maria, how do you listen to your body? You talk about listening to your body all the time. Like, how do you do that? Your body doesn't speak. Well, your body, my friend, does speak. It just speaks in different forms. And it's not obviously in a form of actual speaking to you. It's not talking, but your body speaks to you, for example, in the form of like chronic fatigue. Okay. It speaks to you in pain. It speaks to you in weight gain. How many times have you been like I've also experienced this. How many times have you been down a journey where you're doing all the right things, right? You're eating properly, you're exercising, you're drinking your water, but you're still gaining weight and you get frustrated because you're like, I don't understand what is going on. Why am I still gaining weight? Well, that's your body telling you that something has to change, that your body's not reacting well. It can also talk to you in the form of anxiety or illness. Friends, if we understood that our physical health gives us signs, like your body gives you signs of when it's physically not healthy, and we learn to identify what those signs are and what I just said to you, we would be better at flipping the switch and being like, okay, body, I'm listening. Like, I know I need to change something, and then start to make those changes. Physical health, my friends, isn't about pushing harder. It's about creating safety inside of your body because it's the foundation for everything else. So yes, I've written down, to talk to you guys about different like sections of our life that for me are health. You can't have one without the other. And it's funny, I was actually just talking to my mom about this today. You can't have one section of your health function at its highest capacity when another section of your health is lacking. Is this all making sense? I really hope this is all making sense. I'm just like rambling a little bit here, but I really hope this all ties in. So what do I have here is my section number 2 that we should talk about. Oh, okay, so section 2 that I want to talk to you about is mental health, okay? This is, let's call it, the foundation that you can't ignore. And I think most people ignore it, okay? Here's the thing. Mental health is not optional. It's not something we wait to address until we're falling apart. Although I would say the majority of the population does do that. They wait till they really feel like, "Oh my god, I'm struggling mentally," before they get help and address it. And my friends, I've been down that road. Woo! Been down that road, and let me tell you, don't wait until you're there. Your mental health is the lens through which you see your entire life, okay? And if the lens is dirty, everything else feels harder, heavier, and darker. So let's be real. We live in an age of constant noise. Okay, there's news alerts, endless scrolling on your phone, comparing our lives to strangers on the internet that we may or may not know. Okay, if you don't get intentional about what you consume mentally, you will drown. And I don't want that for you. I've been in a place where I have felt like I was drowning, like felt like I could not even come up for air. And all of it was because I tried to ignore the state of my mental health, and I waited until there was no other option other than to address it. Okay, because I was really, really just being torn down by my own mental health. Okay. Here's a challenge for you. How do I put this? Okay. Notice how you feel after spending 20 minutes scrolling on Instagram. And if you know me, you know I love Instagram. I am a content creator on there. I love it. I am not going to lie to you. I also consume Instagram. But this is something that I want you to do kind of like as homework. How do you feel after you scroll on there? Now, are you inspired, or are you secretly comparing yourself or feeling less than? Are you constantly like wondering why everyone else's life looks perfect and looks better, and why yours doesn't look like that person that you're viewing? Yeah, do that little exercise for me. Actually, for yourself. Because here's the thing. Mental health is also tied to therapy, and we have to stop making therapy as a last resort. Again, hand up, been there, done that. I'm literally trying to share this with you so that you do not do what I did and waited as a last resort. I think there is still a stigma around finding therapy or counseling, and I think that we need to squash that, because I say it as someone who has had therapy before, stopped therapy, is currently in therapy again. Like, it is not something that you should be ashamed of whatsoever. In fact, I always say, I feel like every single person on this earth should do therapy, because the world would be a better place. And here's the thing. I view talk therapy as the starting point of your mental health journey, of becoming vividly aware of who you are, what are the things that are, that make you, that make you unique, like how to address triggers, how to address past traumas, all those things. Talk therapy is the beginning of your therapeutic journey. And then you can move on to different types of modalities and different types of mental health healing. And there's so many other things that we could talk about there, but it is the starting point, in my personal opinion, is talk therapy. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, I'm a huge advocate for it. And I believe that everyone should start, some form of talk therapy in order to open up deep areas of your life mentally where you probably are just trying to numb it or not face them. This is part of the shadow work that I've talked about, resort. Okay, we have to stop making mental health talk therapy as a last resort to feeling, like shit. Okay, I always say, I say this all the time actually to my friends. I think therapy, like talk therapy, is like a gym for your mind. Okay. If you're a natural gym goer, you know what I'm talking about. You don't wait until your body is broken for you to go to the gym, or at least you shouldn't. You go to build the strength and prevent injury. That is essentially why people go to the gym, why I go to the gym. Well, therapy is the same. Okay? It gives you language for what you feel, essentially. It teaches you how to untangle your thoughts how to break old patterns and create new ones. It's one of the most powerful investments you can make into your health. I could not be a bigger advocate for beginning your mental health journey by going to talk therapy. And you have to vibe with your therapist. You have to vibe with the counselor, right? So maybe the first like few times that you meet with a therapist, maybe it's not going to be, a hit off the bat. But you will never know until you try. And if it is that case that, it's not a perfect match for you, find someone else. Okay, find someone else. Don't give up just because the person that you started with or that met up with you at the beginning of your journey, you didn't vibe with. Like, truly think about how you can better yourself by finding someone that you do vibe with. I know that therapy can be expensive, okay? I really do. I'm not immune to that. Nobody is immune to the prices of the world right now and how expensive things are. But there are alternatives that you can use to talk therapy. There are apps that you can use. In fact, and this is not sponsored, and this is, I'm definitely not getting paid to say this, but BetterHelp is definitely an app that I would say you can try, give it a try. I've had great success with it. You fill out a questionnaire and then they pair you with somebody who could be a match for you, but you have the option of, talking to multiple therapists and being able to vibe with the person on the other side. And that is much less expensive than going to therapy in person. So it's definitely an option. So here's the thing, like I said, don't give yourself excuses, and financials being one of them, of why you can't start to work on your mental health, because there are different resources like BetterHelp is literally just one of many resources that are available. So anyways, that's what I wanted to talk about on mental health. My next point that I want to talk to you guys about is your emotional health. Emotional health. Okay. I think emotional health is the piece that we often avoid, because I think that people tie in mental health and emotional health under the same umbrella. And although they are correlated, it's not necessarily the same. I like to break them up because to me, my mental health and my emotional health are separate, they're different. So I know that this one is hard to talk about, but let's talk about it. Okay. Why is this one so hard to talk about? Well, let's be honest here. Emotional health it requires you to feel things. Like, it requires you to go in on your feelings and really feel them. And most of us don't want to feel. Instead, most people want to numb. How do you numb? Scrolling, shopping, binge watching TV, drinking wine and calling it self-care. Okay. I know I said I was going to sting. Okay. I said this was going to sting. It was going to sting. Unprocessed emotions, my friends, they don't disappear. They just sit inside of your body, and eventually they leak out into what we were talking about at the beginning, physical. So when those unprocessed emotions are not processed, are not felt, essentially, how do they leak out of your body? Well, anxiety, burnout, irritability, rage. We can literally go on. There's a massive list that we can go on of how this presents itself when you are not taking care of your emotional health, when you are not feeling all of the feelings, because true emotional health looks like essentially allowing yourself to name what you feel. Like, when was the last time you sat with yourself and said, "Holy shit, I feel lonely," or "Yeah, I feel hurt," or, I feel fucking angry"? When was the last time you sat with yourself and said those things, like actually named them? And these are obviously the harder emotions to process, but have you sat with yourself and done this with the positive emotions? So when was the last time you sat there and said, "Wow, I feel so much joy right now," or "I feel at peace," or "I feel so happy"? And honestly, the positive ones are much easier to identify and name them. The unprocessed emotions that we hide within our body and that reflect later on physically are all of the negative ones that cause us to try and avoid and look the other way when we're feeling them, because it's hard. It's hard to feel those. It's hard to talk about them to yourself. It's hard to admit that you're feeling that. Okay. And then giving those feelings somewhere to go. Because I think that when we process emotions, or don't process emotions, we don't necessarily process emotions because we have no idea how to process them. Okay. I feel like this is just, I hope this is making sense, but essentially, like, where are you putting those feelings? Like, how do you know how to navigate them? Okay, you've named them, right? I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling sad. Where do you put them? This is where journaling, therapy, prayer, body movement, or even just crying it out, that is where you give those emotions a place to see ya, go. And it's not to say that, you've cried it out and then they're just going to go away, but at least you've identified them, you have felt through them, and now you're allowing your body to somatically release them. Friends, I can't describe to you podcast over podcast over podcast of why your circle matters so much. This is why your circle matters so much. Because who do you call when you are upset? Who do you call when you are struggling through things in your life? Who do you call when you're feeling angry about a situation? Or who do you call when you're having a dispute with, a friend, a partner, a parent, a child? Who are you calling? And are they the kind of people who sit with you, listen to you, and then hold space for you? Or do they just dismiss you? Do they tell you to get over it? Or do they gossip about someone else just to distract you from the feelings? Do you see where I'm going with this and why your circle matters so much? If you can't call a friend or anybody in your circle that you consider in your circle and bring up your feelings, and they can sit there and listen to you and allow you to process them, hold space for you, but they try to distract you because they think that that's going to make you feel better, you need a new group of friends. I know, that's hard. That's hard to listen to. And they may not intentionally be trying to dismiss your feelings or trying to distract you from your feelings. Maybe this is the way that they also process their emotions. And maybe it's time for a conversation with your friends. And if this has been the cycle of your friendship, maybe tell them, like, hey, I'm actually looking for you to hold space for me. I'm actually looking for you to sit here and listen to me and just hold the space. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to say that to your friends. But if you can all elevate yourselves, then why wouldn't you bring this up? Now, if the person is saying, like, no, well, no, like, I'm going to tell you how it is. And hey, I'm a friendship of giving tough love, but I also am a friendship of holding the space when I know that the person needs to have that space held. Okay. Your emotional health is either supported or sabotaged by the people around you. So you need to choose wisely. We've said this so many times on so many episodes. Your circle matters. Okay? Now let's talk about the last kind of area or section that I want to talk about in terms of health, and this is your spiritual health. This is the section that we often neglect. It's the pillar that we're often like, doesn't really matter. My spirituality is just me. My spiritual health is just me, and I don't need to address it, and blah, 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 blah. Okay? Spiritual health, my friends, is what ties all of these together. And no, I am not talking about religion for religion's sake. I'm actually talking about connection. What do I mean by that? This ties into my last solo episode. Connection to yourself, connection to God, whatever your God is. Okay, connection to something bigger than your to-do list, essentially. Because when we neglect our spiritual health, we end up feeling empty. And we end up feeling empty, truthfully, no matter how much we achieve. Okay, we hustle for worthiness or for praise or for accolades or to feel seen. We chase, the next goal, the next milestone in our life, and we still feel unfulfilled. Why is that? Because spiritual health might be the thing that you are neglecting. I'm going to say that, okay? It all ties in together. Now, what does spiritual health look like? Well, there's so many things that spiritual health can look like, right? It can look like, obviously the obvious, prayer, but it can also look like meditation. How many times have you been able to meditate? And I know this was very difficult when I first started meditating. It was like I couldn't even sit with myself and meditate because the thought alone of having to sit and do nothing and just be would not allow me. My inner system, because I did not know how to address my feelings. I didn't know how to move through them. I didn't want to because it was scary. All of that caused me to not be able to meditate the first, oh my God, months of trying. Okay? So once you start, and you just got to do it, friends, okay? And if meditation is too hard for you, there's other things that you can start. So spiritual health can also look like journaling. I am a massive, massive advocate for journaling because journaling allows you to dump your brain onto a piece of paper and release a lot of that weight. Okay. It can also be spending time in nature. How many people have thought of that? How many of you have sat there and been like, oh, my spiritual health can be just be like going for a hike in the woods? Spending time in nature is probably one of the strongest things that will connect you to your spiritual health. Well, that's not hard to do. Just go for a hike, okay? Sometimes, okay, this can be a hard one because again, it ties into meditation, just simply sitting in silence. And that is hard. I always say you will build up to that if you are somebody who can't sit in silence. Hello, been there, done that, you know. Now I can sit in pure silence and I still have to like focus. I still have to like make sure that whatever is in my brain, I can say, no, stop, and really just try and sit in silence. But it takes work. And this is coming from someone, my friends, who has been working on her spiritual health for a long time. It's still sometimes when I try and sit in silence or meditation, I still have to consciously shut the noise down. And when the noise is too much that I can't shut it down, I go to the next best thing for me, which is journaling. I mean, I'm in a country where winter is about to hit us, and I am not the type of person that's going to strap on my winter boots and my jacket and go outside and freeze my tits off, okay? Which I'm going to try and do this I'm not willingly going to try and do that. What I'm saying is I'm going to try and embrace nature as it is in all of its seasons because I know that it connects me to my spiritual health. So, I want you to know your spiritual health isn't about perfection. I don't want you to think like I have to do it a certain way for it to be perfect or for it to work. It's just about presence. It's about remembering who you are and what actually matters. It's remembering to come back into you. It's remembering to find the connection with you, with the higher source, with, you know, God, with whatever it is that you believe in, something bigger than you. That is what your spiritual health is. And you can start again so simply by just going and connecting with nature. Take your socks off and stand on grass. You know, funny story, my kids finished soccer season. Obviously, they finished soccer season back in May, at the end of May. And for every single soccer game, if it wasn't raining, okay, I would take my socks off and my shoes and I would stand the entire hour for one child and another hour for the other child while we were at the soccer field, and I would stand on the grass with no shoes. I was the only parent that did this. And did I get looks? Yes. Did people probably think that I was super hippy dippy? Yes. But what they didn't understand, and this is where I say the majority of people do not get it because we're just so conditioned to numb ourselves from our feelings and from our spirituality, is that the greatest connection that you can have with the higher being, with God, with source, with energy, with universe, however you want to call it, is through connection to nature. Grounding is an actual scientific thing. So take your socks off, go outside, put your feet on the grass, and just be. Close your eyes, feel the sun, feel the breeze, and try to not think about anything and just be. Just be. Okay? So those were the different sectors that I wanted to talk to you guys about, but let's actually understand it as a whole because everything that we consume is part of our health. Everything. This is where it technically all comes together. Health is every single thing that you consume. It's not just about what's on your plate, although it's important, but it's also about what's on your feed. It's not about how many steps you hit, important, but it's also about the words that you allow into your head, which is massive. Okay, it's not just about what you're drinking, your greens, your water, all that, although important. It's also about what you're digesting emotionally and spiritually every single day. So I want you to ask yourself a few things. Number one, is what I am watching right now feeding me or draining me? This takes conscious effort, guys. This takes conscious thinking. It takes you wanting to become a better version of yourself and get out of feeling like shit for you to start asking yourself these questions and being real with your answers. So is what I am watching right now watching, so TV, social media, news, videos, YouTube, my favorite shows, movies, all of it. Is what I am watching right now feeding me or is it draining me? Are the conversations that I'm having helping me grow or keeping me stuck? Your circle matters. And this one, a lot of people don't really think about. And I had an aha moment months ago, probably at the beginning of this year, where I was like, my goodness. Okay. And I talked to a few friends about this, and the reaction that I got was hilarious. Let me pose the question and then I'll tell you a little story. The question that I want you to ask yourself is the following. Is the music that I'm listening to healing me or hurting me? Everything counts, my friends. Why is that question funny that I remember it? Because I remember having that aha moment at the beginning of this year and feeling like, oh my God, okay, I am part Latina, part Portuguese, okay, but I did my Latina roots are very strong within me. And I remember thinking this while I was listening to a reggaeton. Okay, for those of you who don't know reggaeton, I'm sure you all know reggaeton. Okay, Gasolina, everybody knows Gasolina by Daddy Yankee, okay? Everybody knows that song, okay? That's reggaeton, that style of music, that genre. I remember thinking to myself as I was listening to one of the reggaeton, and it was like an old school one. It wasn't even the new ones, which, by the way, the new ones are vile, in my opinion. But here's the story. I was listening to it and just subconsciously just singing the lyrics because I know the lyrics. I'm very good with music. My husband will tell you that, I can't remember where I put, my shoes yesterday, but I can remember every single lyric of all the songs that I've ever listened to. And so I remember having this aha moment. I was just starting kind of like the deep dive into my spiritual journey and my healings, all of this healing journey that I've been on. And I remember being like, oh my goodness, why am I listening to this music? Like when I really started to pay attention to the lyrics, I was like, no. I was like, I joked with my friend because I texted her right away. I joked with my friend and I was like, this has literally ruined the music game for me. Because now all I listen to when I listen to lyrics is exactly that. None of the lyrics, let's be honest, I'm going to say 90 to 95% of the music that you are currently listening to right now, it doesn't matter what your background is. I'm saying obviously my Latin culture because that's mostly what I listen to. But I am going to tell you that 90 to 95% of the music that you are listening to, even really good country songs, which I love, okay? They are not necessarily feeding your soul. They are not necessarily healing your system. It is subconscious programming. Now I'm going to sound woo-woo. It is subconscious programming because it goes into your subconscious. This is these very catchy tunes, the frequencies at which they're recorded in. Okay, now, yeah, I'm really getting deep here. But all of it is not meant for it to heal you. I want you to start listening to the lyrics of the music that you are listening to and truly asking yourself that question. Is this healing me or is this hurting me? Because if all you are listening to is music that talks about bad relationships, breakups, alcohol addictions, sex addictions, drug addictions, hustling, violence, disrespect, like if you really start listening to all that, do you think that it doesn't affect you? Do you think that it's not going to be negative inside of your body and produce things that are not healing and actually hurting? My friends, everything counts. It's almost like that thing, like once you see it or once you hear it, you can't unsee or unhear it. Yeah, welcome to the awakening. So I did write a couple of things because I wanna leave you with that. I did write a couple of things here that I think are going to be actionable steps for you to take if you want to into your healing journey, okay? The first one is audit your inputs. Spend 1 week writing down every single thing that you consume. Food, media, music, conversations, people that you allow in your circle, conversations you've been having with certain people and how that made you feel. Spend 1 week writing those down and ask yourself if it's building you or if it's breaking you. Okay? Actionable steps. This is what I want you to do. Number 2, I want you to move daily. Even if it's just for a walk, okay? And I don't want you to think of this as punishment or as a challenge. I've done those. Not the way to approach this. I want you to think of this as a way of saying, I'm taking care of you to your body. You saying to you, hey, I'm taking care of you. So move daily. Movement can be so different, okay? Walk, yoga, stretching, dance in your kitchen for a song or two, okay? Just move somatically, let your body move on its own. Like, really just move your body. I just want you to move your body daily. Do something every single day that moves your body physically. All right. Number 3, therapy or journaling. All right. I want you to make it a practice to process your thoughts on a daily basis, regularly. And if it can't be daily, maybe every other day. Take out a journal. You don't have to buy a brand new journal. But if it's something that's if buying a brand new journal is going to make you want to write in the journal, then go do that, okay? You can buy journals at the dollar store. It doesn't have to be fancy schmancy. Or just a piece of paper, but start journaling, okay? If you're not ready to face your emotions as deep as going into therapy and that scares you right now, then just start with journaling. Brain dump everything that's in your head. And you can do this in the morning when you wake up, or make it a ritual to do it at nighttime. Eventually, that journaling practice will get to the point where you kind of just carry it around with you everywhere. And anytime you're feeling a surge of emotions, you pull this thing out and you dump on there. It's powerful. Okay. Where are we? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Number 4, create a supportive circle. I have preached this, and so has Jenny, on so many episodes. Choose people who challenge you to grow and sit with you when you struggle. Don't choose people that you feel like you have to please all the time, or there's certain expectations that you feel pressured. No, choose people wisely, those that are going to hold the space for you, but also challenge you when it's needed. Okay, they won't let you sit in complacency. They won't let you sit in woe is me attitude or energy. People that are going to hold that space and say, hey, I think you're worthy of more, and here is how I can help you. What you are not changing, you are choosing. So choose the people that surround yourself with. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 5. I didn't number these, that's why I have to count them. Number 5, spiritual time. Okay, start small. This could be like 5 minutes a day of prayer or meditation or quiet reflection or just sitting in silence. Do it, my friends. It's going to change the game for you. And I cannot promise that this is going to be easy. This, most likely, if you're not used to doing this, will be hard. So start with 5 minutes a day. Set the timer on your phone. Close your eyes. If you can sit, if you can't sit, lay down. Okay, lay down and just be. Maybe put some meditation music on. Maybe if this helps you more, look up like 5-minute guided meditations on how to relax your mind. There are so many resources. YouTube is great for that. Spotify, Apple Music, like all of them have these amazing resources that you can use. And start with 5 minutes a day where you can disconnect from everything, close your eyes, breathe, and just be. Okay. And then that was number 5. So our last one here that I have for you is rest without guilt. I know we've covered this before, but like sleep, recovery, and stillness are not luxuries that you have to earn. They're necessities in your life. So definitely rest without guilt. For me, my rest day is usually Sundays. That doesn't mean I'm not doing things, but that does mean that I most of the time just disconnect and be with my family and my kids and enjoy every single moment of the day. Rest. Not something you have to like check stuff off. So here's the question I'm going to leave you guys with, because I want to hopefully make an impact with this episode and really help you out the way that I've learned through all of these things, right? I want to ask you, are you really healthy or just keeping up appearances? Because health is not just a number on a scale, okay? It's not just a body. It's not just, a diet. So here's the question. Are you really healthy or are you just keeping up with appearances? I know I was the latter, and so I've done all of this work and continue to do so. I truly believe I've said this so many times. Your healing journey is a continuous journey, and it's not something that I want you to get the mindset away from like, if I'm healing, it means I'm trying to fix something. I'm not trying to fix anything. You just want to connect more on the inside. You want to connect more to you. That's the true healing. Because once you connect to you and know who you are and know the purpose that you were put on this earth for, there's nothing that can shake you. It doesn't mean there's not going to be trying times. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be difficulties in your life. But those times when they are difficult and trying, you're going to be able to identify what is going on and come back to you and learn to deal with it in a better manner. This is what I want for you. Okay? Health isn't just a number on a scale, my friends. It's not just a body type or a physique that you think health is. It's not just a diet or fad diet or nutrition plan. Health is literally the sum of every single choice that you make. From what you consume to what you allow to what you believe about yourself. And let me tell you, you deserve to feel alive, not just functional and surviving. You deserve a life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside, and it starts today. It starts today with choosing to treat every single part of you like it matters, because it does. I really hope that this resonated with some of you. I hope that even one person listening to this sat there and said, yeah, I'm going to make some changes. Or, yep, that's exactly where I'm in. I really hope that this resonated. And if it did, share it with Jenny and myself, share it with your friends, share it with someone that you think might benefit from hearing these things. And I hope for you that your journey begins today with some small step that you are willing to take in order to elevate to your highest self, become unfiltered, and definitely become limitless. Have a wonderful day.